Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's pre-post game podcast presented by the African American Athlete, hosted by Mr. Ricky Hampton and Mr. Michael Robinson, every Tuesday from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today is June 13, 2018. I apologize for catching my breath, but wow, today is a historic day for the African American athlete, a historic day for athletes in general and their families. If you see the actual post, we're talking about the actual podcast, not the podcast, but the actual transfer rule, NCAA transfer rules regarding this historic day where athletes no longer have to get permission from the universities that recruited them originally based on some of the things that happened during the transition process, which, again, a lot of athletes and parents aren't giving actual answers to the questions that they may have, sign an agreement, then are blocked from going to do what's best for them. Those days are over. As of today, but to go in effect into October, athletes will now be able to transfer without getting permission from said university. So again, there's a lot of different factors that go into it, but let me say how important this is in the history of sport regarding the NCAA and the scholarship and the National Letter of Intent, NLI, scholarship paperwork. People continue to, again, these kids continue to, with their families, be taught to what they say, trust the process without actually really understanding what goes into this process. Who does this process benefit? And how can the actual athlete leverage this process for their best interest? For those that continue to speak the free education piece, you got to understand, again, half of these kids that go to school do not even finish out 2 years in that exact college. But the NCAA don't like to put those numbers out there. The universities don't like to talk about how many kids they recruited through 4 or 5 stars. And those same 4 or 5 stars are no longer in university, no longer actually in college at all, and back to where they started. While meanwhile, some of those coaches got those 4 and 5 star kids and now got new jobs and went other places and basically use those kids for what they can do for them. So now with this new transfer rule, if a kid was recruited by a family or by a coach or a school and he basically said he's going to do something, and let's say he decided to leave the school, take a job elsewhere, well, that kid has the right to say, you know what, you told me you was going to be here, now you're not, so therefore I'm going to leave this school and I'm going to transfer, and that's what it is. So I don't have to get direct permission per you. But what that really means also, though, is that that's the national rule. So what we foresee happen is a lot of these individual conferences trying to put a rule in place to kind of dictate to these kids about not being able to transfer within the conference. Once again, sports is not a game. Sports is all business. Prior to putting pen to paper at any situation, it just reminds you again that you have to read all things and negotiate on your behalf. So if a school, or say a conference such as the Big Ten, says, if you come to our school, you're not allowed to transfer within conference. Well, I would say to them, to that kid and to that school, then maybe I don't need to come to your conference. Once again, if that top-rated recruit doesn't come to that school in that conference, they'll lose recruits, and then what will happen is other conferences will start to win. So once again, a scholarship, a national letter of intent, this is a living document. A lot of things they put in this actual document, a lot of times the parent may initially sign what you call the NLI, but soon after there'll be a paperwork regarding drug policies, regarding eligibility, regarding going to class, and they'll throw that thing in, such as intellectual property that you give over to the NCAA without actually knowing what you're signing over for. Case in point, no athlete or parent in 2018 should be signing a document and agreement and have it reviewed by your actual attorney or someone that has your best interest in mind. Because at the end of the day, there are terms in this actual language and these contracts that you do not understand, even at the collegiate level. So this rule that changed today, and I said if you guys are on my Facebook page, which is the Players Rep, 3 years ago I had colleagues, teammates, friends of mine tell me this day will never come, but that day is here. And that day is here because of people from behind the scenes, people such as the families and the athletes, and now understanding that, you know, if you tell me something, I need to hold myself accountable, but we also need to hold these schools, these coaches, these institutions accountable too. Because the fact of the matter is, without these actual athletes and these families, NCAA would not be generating any revenue whatsoever. And all these different rules they have in place to basically separate themselves or segregate, if you will, football and basketball, the major generating revenue sports, from hockey and baseball is not right. So again, it's not over. You know, we're just getting started. As more things continue to come out, which they will, I assure you, as the Players Rep, we're going to ensure more things come out, more changes will be made. More empowerment, more protection for the athlete will have to happen in order for the NCAA to remain in business long term. This is 2018. Technology, different areas of ways to alternative methods to participate or try to get to a pro level of a sport, such as, you have the JBA as of right now, Junior Basketball Association, created by LeVar Ball. So essentially as an alternative for the actual kid who doesn't want to go to college. You also have the XFL coming back, and you also have what you call the All Alliance Football League, which have some NFL components to it. But at the end of the day, it's also another alternative method if the young man does not want to go to college. Now, what we do here at Pre-Post Game, for you guys to check us out, prepostgame.com. I'm the CEO of that company. We do sports business management and advisory for athletes, which includes transition succession planning. So many people think when you say sports business management, you think about agents, and I'm here to tell you that sports is so much more than being an agent. We are not agents. We talk about the things that go along what's important in the business of sport for the actual athlete. Case in point, transfer rules. Core courses. If you're a junior, many people don't know that if you're a high school player right now and you want to be eligible to play at a Division I level, your first year you have to have 10 of your core courses completed by your end of your junior year, not your senior year. I'm going to repeat that. If you want to play your freshman year in a Division I level, you have to have 10 core courses completed at the end of your junior year to be eligible to do that. So again, there's a lot of this information is not known by the high school coach, not known by the high school programs. It's not disseminated by people in the area because they don't know, they're not told. So literally, the he say, she say model is dead. So again, we have all of our stuff. There's a lot of it is digitally database to give you the actual information for what you need to basically put you and your son or your daughter in this case in the best situation possible. So once again, also a change of rule. Once upon a time, the red shirt means that you are not allowed to play any games that year, so you'll basically be able to get an extended year. So the NCAA, if you're in Division I, you have 5 years of academic eligibility to play 4. If you happen to get injured, you can apply for what they call a medical red shirt, which doctors have to approve and also have to be approved by the NCAA. But a red shirt in general means that the young man or the woman did not go on the field that season. So literally, one of those years you did not play. The new rule now has changed that you can actually play up to 4 games and still receive an actual red shirt for that season. Another humongous victory for the actual athlete. Because once again, if you go somewhere, you might make a decision that you felt comfortable with at first, but once you got out there, you realize, you know what, I'm not really comfortable here. This doesn't really fit what I'm trying to do. This is not what I was told I was going to do. There are many athletes that are recruited to be told that, for example, that I want to play defensive end. I'm in a certain region of the country. You're trying to keep me from going to your rival. You recruit me for what I want to be, and once I get there, you tell me now I'm switching to offensive line, which again, that's a bold-faced lie. Now in that same type of predicament, if that young man got on the field and he was trying to play defensive line or offensive line and it didn't work out, he can receive that red shirt if you don't play any more than 4 games, and then he also can still now decide to transfer. So once again, it's about giving these guys or educating, empower, protecting their best interests, because at the end of the day, all the rules that apply that have been put in place over the years have benefited the industry and not necessarily the player. If you talk about the education piece, NCAA is yet and will not put out the factual numbers of, for example, the highly rated athletes, the 5 stars, if you will. College coaches in particular get bonuses when they get certain guys that come to their schools, like 5 stars and 4 stars. But the fact of the matter is all those 5 stars are recruited to come to the actual university with the dream or told that they're going to actually be able to go to the NFL from that actual program. But the factual number is only 38% of 5 stars actually make it to the NFL. So once again, that actual factual based number only basically helps the actual college coach, not the actual player. And why does that happen, you say? A lot of it goes into not just the fact that the kid didn't pan out on the field physically, but when you're a 5-star, there's a lot of people that are around you that are not there for your best interest, for your kid's best interest. There's a lot of people that's jumping on the bandwagon, got this kid making bad decisions because they believe he's going to be rich one day. There's a lot of incentive entitlement, a lot of things that happen to this kid where his head gets so big from a star that he can't really focus on what he was trying to do when he went to school in the first place. So again, all these things is about character development, helping these kids to move what they need to do. But at the same time, you would think that they're doing that in the actual college. And I'm here to tell you that does not happen. So once again, I'm like a kid in Christmas right now. I'm speaking extremely fast because it's been hot and heavy regarding this actual scenario. Again, for those people that have young children or young people that's going to college or thinking about going to college or in college right now, the link on YouTube pertaining to the NCAA, the new rules, you can click on that link below. It'll take you directly to YouTube, so check that out. Again, you can also go to prepostgame.com, check out all the things pertaining to sports business for the athlete and their family's best interests alone. So once again, historic day, monumental day. The NCAA been around, I believe, since 1916. And this is the first major rule that's actually went in on the favor of the actual athlete and the families. Nothing about this new rule today pertaining to red shirt or the actual transfer is beneficial to the actual coaches based on how they operate, how they've been operating against the actual athletes. So once again, fair warning to all that. Again, we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about auditing and vetting people. Coaches, if you're going to say something to a kid, understand you're going to be held accountable for that going forward based off this new rule. Kids and families are going to be advised to, you know what, if they're not willing to put what they say in writing, then they need to go elsewhere. Because once again, NCAA just said, and again, I call a spade a spade. Congratulations to the NCAA for doing something that they should have done a long time ago. Now, once again, let's know another thing, that they may not be so bad, but they're all about business. And until the last couple of years, most people have not been in the best interest of actually advocating for these actual athletes. Most people have been in the business of actually using these athletes by giving them such things as gear. And you say, again, that free education, that, again, if you go and look at any major conference, major college or school, you can't show a kid that comes back after he finished playing sports where he got a 6 or 7 figure job using that education. So once again, the money that they generated for the actual school is something that, if I'm only going to play 1 year of sports in college and I happen to generate some revenue for that actual university, then by all means, in capitalism in America, they should be compensated for it. And if you're not going to compensate them for it, they should be able to put themselves in a situation where they want to be. Not because you took him as a 4 or 5 star, so you can get a bonus, so you can convince the next kid to come to that school, so you can recruit in that actual region, so you can keep this guy from going to your actual rival. So once again, historic day. I don't know how to put it in perspective pertaining to sports, but you won't see this on ESPN, you won't see this on SportsCenter. So again, I try to do my best to bring to you the actual fact of the matter of how serious of a deal this is. Now again, parents, you got to understand, because that rule change, there's a lot of different nuances that you got to understand in between these actual rules. Case in point, there's some rules such as if you decide you want to leave and transfer, right now, preliminary speaking, they're telling you if you have a 14-day window. So if the kid says he wants to transfer, they end up putting his name in a database, so all the coaches can't basically blackball him and try to tell other coaches he's not available. So once that kid makes that announcement, he goes into this database. However, after 14 days after that, that school can take your actual scholarship. So you got to be mindful when you actually make this decision. And again, for more consulting and to understand what your best interests are, contact us at prepostgame.com. And the reason why that's the case is because if you basically leave school or make their announcement too early, they can now take your classes away where you have to pay for the classes. Then the next school can say, well, you're not eligible to play this season because you didn't finish your core courses. So once again, like anything else, the good part about it is if you really feel like making that decision, you need to actually understand where you should go next, what's best for you, what mistakes you made the first time going around, and then now try to figure out how I won't make those same mistakes again. And understand that when you actually about to make that decision, that's a decision that you need to keep between you and your family. It's not to be told to your teammates. It's not to be told to your coaches, because once again, that information will come out and that will be used against you once again in a business sense. So when you're looking at making that decision, sit down with your family, your advisors, your team, whoever that may be, and figure out a game plan before you make that actual announcement, so your transition can be smooth in that. So again, there's a lot of different rules that's going to be put in place there, but like I said, at the same time, it all goes back to reviewing what you're actually signing. If you tell me I'm going to have my own room and I'm going to be able to start as a freshman at the school, and you decide that I'm not going to, you want to transfer, but again, you didn't look at the paperwork that says, well, if you come to this conference, you can go where you want, but you can't go to a school in this actual conference. Well, that can also be revised. If they want you bad enough, you can say, hey, I want to be here, coach. However, if you leave the school, if it's not a good fit, if it's something that happens with my parents where I need to literally go home, I can, and here's my document approved by my lawyer. If you want me to go to this school, please sign this here. If not, that's okay. I appreciate you, coach. There is somebody. People are not giving away scholarships and giving out scholarships out of the kindness of their heart. They're giving them out because you actually provided service athletically to them. Because to them, you actually generate revenue for them. So at the end of the day, you have to learn how to, at the earliest stages, make sure this contract, this scholarship, this document, this time that you're going to have in a short window of a career called sports is beneficial to you. If you're not comfortable in speaking on your behalf, you also can contact us at prepostgame.com, because this is what we do also here. I am not in awe of any NCAA coach. I am not a sports agent. I get compensated. We get compensated for what we do to educate and empower, protect the athlete. All factual fact-check-based business principles and understanding of the rules from the NCAA, from the rules of actual engagement, or when you talk about child labor laws, like if you're actually going to tell a kid something, he's going to get recruited to school. Did you use drugs, sex, and alcohol to coerce that kid to come to your school? If you did, we have lawyers on our team and lawyers on other teams that say that's impermissible, and that's an impermissible benefit, and it's also a situation where you can get in a lot of trouble for that. Again, once athletes start to actually advocate for themselves and speak what's on their mind, these things continue to change more faster. And like I said, I'm extremely excited and proud to be a part of this actual transition, because again, at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself as an athlete or as a person that's trying to accomplish something in life, no one will. So that's the gist of what's going on today. Again, for the actual NCAA. So recap, my name is Robert T. Green. I'm the Players Rep. For more media, hashtag Google the Players Rep. You'll see everything that I've done, what I speak about regarding sports business. Sports is not a game. Sports is all business. You can also check me out, the Players Rep 1 on Facebook, Players Rep on Facebook, the Players Rep 1 on Twitter, and the Players Rep 1 on Instagram. Follow along as we continue this journey to try to basically educate and empower, protect the athlete's best interests. Again, this is the African American Athlete show, pre-post game podcast presented by the African American Athlete, hosted by Mr. Ricky Hampton and Michael Robinson. Check them out every Tuesday and from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as they cover sports from an African American perspective, past, current, and certainly future. And so today, remember the date, June 13th, 2018. So again, if you got educated, you got empowered, you got protected anyway in this video, please like and share, get the word out, and again, continue to understand that sports is not a game, sports is all business. So quick transition to another empowerment scenario when you talk about athletes, NFL holdout period, where if you listen to Sirius XM radio and some of their pundits, who a lot of them happen to be former GMs in the National Football League and former inside people from the National Football League. That's how it works. When you want to basically put out a message, you kind of infiltrate other areas using people that once worked with you to get their message out. So as of right now, we got several major athletes that are holding out from the NFL and their mandatory minicamp. So just to educate you guys a little bit, mandatory means that if the athlete doesn't show up, he's being fined daily. A lot of these guys are getting fined about $40,000 a day for not showing up. OTAs stands for off-season training activity. So you have voluntary and you have mandatory. So right now, at the end of this week, most athletes, most NFL players will be off from football activities through their collective bargaining agreement to the end of July. So because they're off to the end of July, some of the veterans decided that the contract that they signed 4-5 years ago hasn't basically panned out, and they don't feel like they're getting their worth based on their production. There's guys such as Aaron Donald from the Los Angeles Rams. You have Tom Brady that stayed away from his mandatory minicamp. You have guys like Taylor Lewan, offensive tackle from Tennessee. You have quite a few guys. You actually have Julio Jones from Atlanta Falcons, who Julio Jones went so far as to his social media feeds. He deleted every picture that had the word Atlanta or him in a jersey for them. A lot of these athletes are starting to realize that their pro career is short-lived. And when you sign a contract for 4 or 5 or 6 years, they are starting to learn what you've been teaching for years, is that literally these teams have no intention on paying you 6 years anything. Again, because at the end of the day, when it comes to sports, you are hired and you are kept on for a few things. One, age. Second thing, health. Third thing, production. And then repeat. And your leverage comes when you're younger, not when you're older. So when you sign 6-year deals, a lot of these contracts, what you call, these are backloaded, meaning like if I sign a deal for 4 years, $100 million, which is an average $25 million a year, the contract might say I'm going to get $10 million the first year, $10 million the second year, and then the third year I'm going to get a $15 million signing bonus. Year 4, I'm going to get the remaining 65. These contracts aren't guaranteed. Now, once again, you say, well, why would these young men sign this? Because of these things called the agent. What these players start to realize that all these agents that got these guys that sign these 5 years, $75, $100 million deals, what these agents do, no one is not guaranteed. They turn around, they promote, they retweet, they post this information, and they go back and tell the next college kid, look at the contract I got for this actual guy, even though most of that contract is worth less than toilet tissue. And then you got to repeat the process again. So again, a couple pictures here and there. So again, that's a good system for the actual team in the league, because we got to understand who's going to be in the league longer, the players or the agents and the teams. So you're talking about like what union allows players that are coming out of college that literally got this free education, but now what society or what job in America where you literally will let somebody charge you for something 5 months in advance, even though they work for you and they tell you what they're going to pay you? What Fortune 100 and 500 company operates that way? Absolutely zero. So when you talk about guys that you know every year, you got guys that's employed like Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, and if they happen to be right or accurate at their case, so why would the 2019 NFL draft class pay any agents where there are lawyers all over the place? There's approximately 800 agents. 400 of those agents don't even have any clients. They'll be happy to work with an athlete just because, without paying $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. See, people, the essence of a draft is usually based off somebody's dying. There's nobody dying in sports. So they're telling you exactly what it's about. It's cheap labor. So if they want cheap labor, that means there's a certain amount of time where you're younger, healthier, and you will produce and you actually have a following. So you can help sell tickets and recruit the next. So for that reason alone, once again, these athletes not to figure out, like, you know what, why did I sign that 5-year, whatever $1 million contract when I know a CBA is coming out? A possible lockout is coming out. So for those of you guys, again, who don't know, a potential NFL lockout is coming out in 2021 when the CBA ends, which, again, it will last signed or ratified in 2011. So because of that, you got athletes that might be coming out in 2019 or say, for example, the 2020 class. Now, we talk about advising them. You don't want to be that kid that actually is going to decide to stay in school in 2020 because you was advised by your coach in school or you're some type of agent, and you don't realize the 2021 lockout, when they tell you wait till next year, then your draft year, there is no draft. That would be catastrophic. That school's not going to give you that money back while you're chasing the ring. They're not going to cut you a check based off their salary saying, we sorry about that. We didn't know. No, they absolutely know. And if they don't know, I'm telling you right now, sports is not a game. Sports is all business. So once again, you have athletes saying, you know what? They're not coming to see coach such and such walk the sidelines. Even Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Julio Jones, Aaron Donald, Earl Thomas, all these guys, since they've been in college, have made so many people so much amount of money. You can say all you want about how these athletes that make money, but everybody that makes money, they making money too. So then she was like, it doesn't matter. Earl Thomas played at the University of Texas. How much is the University of Texas made off Earl Thomas? How much money is Seattle made off of the Legion of Boom? Literally. Earl Thomas is 29 years old. He understands that his time in his window is closing. So when that last contract was signed, guess who else knew their window was closing? Their representation. The reality is, again, we're talking about the 4 major sports, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, where all of them have what you call a slotted system, draft system already in place, a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement. All you need to do is basically read up on what's actually going on and understand the math and the numbers and the time frame that you're in, the position that you play, the leverage that that position has, the franchise tag. In particular, football, every professional athlete, franchise tag-wise, will tell you exactly what the market is. Quarterbacks make about $22, $23, $24 million a year, franchise tag. Top rush defensive linemen make 17 defensive ends. The next schedule, the next one is the left tackle, protecting the quarterback. The list go down, down, down to the kicker, which is about $4 to $5 to $6 million, I believe, franchise tag. Once you understand the math of the business that you're actually in, decisions that you make should be easy to make. If you surround yourself with the right people that are invested in you, not the industry. Because I understand, most of these people want to be in the industry longer than you will be. So when you take your money and invest in them, you actually doing yourself a disservice. Sports is not a game. Sports is our business. So last but not least, we're going to talk about NBA free agency. So obviously a lot of people right now are looking at Kevin Durant's situation. They're looking at the Golden State Warriors. The fact of the matter is, you're not going to be able to keep all of those guys. A lot of those guys make sacrifices based on their salary cap, such as Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. The fact of the matter is, those guys are superstars in their own right, and it would all play itself out. So people want to talk about LeBron or Kevin Durant making decisions. People don't understand Golden State drafted their players. They didn't go out and get free agents, and they can't afford to do so. The Cleveland Cavaliers had the highest payroll in the last 2 years because LeBron went and got people with a lot of money that they owed. So for those that kept saying LeBron doesn't have a good team, LeBron had anybody he wanted to have, going way back to when he got J.R. Smith, Thomas Mozgov, and Elon Shumpert from the Knicks. Those are the Knicks' best 3 players. How do you give up your best 3 players to a conference rival? But you got to the finals. So once again, when you talk about Golden State versus them, business is business. And a lot of those guys were not making a lot of money. They were drafted. They grew within the system. They became great. So for those that continue to think that Golden State did something out of the way where Kevin Durant came and broke the mold, no, he's one free agent that came. That's one. That's one. Andre Iguodala, he didn't make a lot of money. Again, I remind you, Cleveland had the highest salary. And when LeBron came back to Cleveland, you got to realize Cleveland had 4 ping pong balls and had the top 4 picks in a row when he came back from Miami. And then he pushed all those guys, Andre Wiggins and Bennett, out the door. So when it talks about decisions about players that they make, you have to make them based off of the fact of what the market allows them to do. And like I said, with a lot of NBA players have figured out what the NFL is slowly catching up on players-wise is that you got to know where your market is and where your leverage is. Kyrie Irving has said today, no, I'm not going to re-sign with Boston and stay with Boston right now. Why would I do that? He literally would have cut himself away from $75 million. I don't people understand about the NBA when you talk about making billions in the actual world. As an African-American former high school, collegiate, and professional athlete, Coca-Cola, like I said, or any other store, any other type of franchise, Walmart, let's take Walmart for example, can make a lot of money. However, if they make it $300 million, they got 300,000 employees. They got 300,000 insurance claims, 300,000 lawsuits. There's no one on the planet on earth that, other than an athlete, that can actually generate the money that they make before they turn 30. In college, in baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. In particular basketball, with their actual max revenue scenario right now, you take 5 basketball players, just 5, before they turn 30, they became together as a group, be worth $1 billion before taxes. $1 billion. There's only a few people on this planet worth $1 billion. But 5 guys before they turn 30, predominantly African American, can be worth $1 billion. And can do all types of things to change the world if they know how to invest in themselves, not the industry. Because sports is global. The United States pays for it now, but if they didn't pay for it, somebody else will. And they understand that. That's why they try to leverage everything back over to them, using the NCAA to control the narrative. But we got something for that too coming down the road, so you guys stay tuned. Definitely stay tuned. Again, recap, Robert T. Green, I'm the CEO, pre-post game, also known as the Players Rep. Please hashtag the Players Rep. Follow me on Instagram at the Players Rep, on Twitter, the Players Rep 1. I'm sorry, the Players Rep 1, and on Facebook, the Players Rep. I think I'm almost out of friends requests now, so you guys can just follow along. I appreciate it. We're going to keep bringing you more information. Got a lot of great things coming up from a digital database standpoint to really educate you. So once again, if you know someone that needs sports education, business services, we are for you because we do things for you and only you, no one else. There's no referrals, no kickbacks. I don't do any of that. I'm the only person you know that's speaking what I'm speaking right now on a professional level, and at the end of the day, stand by what I'm saying. And I challenge you to send this or share this to them and have them dispute what I'm saying. And then once you do that, then you should know that literally, there's 3 things you should know. You can take this to business and sports. When I educate athletes on, there's 3 things you should know and understand when you're dealing with people in the sports industry. Education. Am I telling you something in this video you never know before? That means I'm giving you something that you can actually use to help yourself. 2, empowerment. Am I teaching you something in this video how you can go and figure out what you need to do to actually put yourself in a better situation? You may need me today, but tomorrow you want to do what you got to do for yourself and grow from there. And the last thing is protection. At the end of the day, if you're going to protect me from something that's been happening for years and years and years, that's factually done, but yet you want to tell me, explain to me, or let me go into the same situation again. Surround yourself with people that can do that, you're going to be okay. If you surround yourself with people that do not educate you, do not empower you, do not protect you in the sports business, it's going to be a short, bumpy, and quick end to your ride. So again, my name is Robert T. Green. Please like and share. Look forward to seeing you guys every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I may be on location, but look forward to talking to you guys again. Again, I'm Robert T. Green. Check us out at pre-post game and Educate, Empower, Protect. God bless.